5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, and welcome back to the Go There Do That podcast. So this is Alaska, part 4, and this is our most recent trip. It was in March of 2022. It was actually coinciding with our anniversary, our 4-year anniversary, which is on March 31st.
Mm-hmm.
So we went at that time. And what did we do? We flew in. Oh, wait. Just want to say, what am I doing jumping right into it? If you're listening, thank you. And if you're watching, thank you. Last I checked, we were at.
Also, I'm here.
Oh, also, how could I forget? We have Heather right here. Sorry.
It's okay.
I didn't see you. I didn't see you there.
You just got excited.
I just noticed.
Excited to start.
I just noticed that you were here now. So I'm going to restart that entire thing.
Okay.
I just did a podcast right before this, so. Okay, ready? Headband or no? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, and welcome to the Go There Do That podcast. This is Alaska, part 4 in our series about our trips to Alaska and experiences. So if you're a first-time listener, thanks for joining. If you're, with us, followed the whole Alaska journey, congrats. Thank you for staying with us.
This is the last one.
And this is the last one.
And Smoosh is...
And we are now hearing Smoosh
Stop.
use the couch as a scratching post.
Yeah, even though he has 4.
He waited until we started to do that. So I'm just going to restart again.
Okay.
Because I don't like what's happening. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Hello and welcome to the Go There Do That podcast. This is Alaska part 4. And if you're a first-time listener, thanks for joining us. And if you are returning from all the previous other parts of Alaska that we've talked about, thanks for sticking around.
Yeah. This is the last one.
This is the last one.
Until we inevitably go back.
Yes. Well, yeah, we're going to go back at some point, but this is the most recent trip made in March of 2022. It coincided with our anniversary, which is March 31st. So it was a pretty amazing experience, but we'll start from the beginning. What made us want to go?
I wanted to do a trip for our anniversary, mostly because, I don't know if you remember, but after the cruise in 2019, it kind of like ignited like a travel fire within us, even before Go There Do That was a thing. But I had like planned a trip for our anniversary, for our 2-year anniversary in 2020. And then we had to cancel everything because COVID.
Because of 2020.
Yeah.
Enough said.
We were going to Washington, D.C. for the Cherry Blossom Festival. So I didn't want to recreate that, but I wanted to do something around our anniversary. And so I looked up cool thing, as I always do when planning a trip. I just look up best things to do and then insert whatever time period.
That's the secret, basically.
Basically, yeah. And then, the Northern Lights popped up, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's like a crazy once-in-a-lifetime bucket list item. So let's do that, because why not?
So as of right now, this recording, which is in early April of 2023, so the sun right now is doing what's called a solar cycle. So every 11 years, and this, I didn't know any of this before. It's just my research I've done.
When I planned it, you didn't know, and then it just became really cool.
Because
it just made it even better. Yeah.
The Northern Lights is a difficult thing to photograph. Like it's, especially if you've never done it before, it's like long exposure, nighttime. Also in Alaska in March, which is really cold.
Cold, yeah.
Very cold. The coldest I've ever felt. So all these conditions, you need the right cameras, you need the right lenses, you need the right settings, and you need all the knowledge. And I sort of gained that just going into it because I don't do a ton of research most of the time. I'm just kind of happy to be there. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I got to take a photo of the Northern Lights.
Yeah.
I did look up there's like all these radars you can look up about it. But the night of our anniversary, there was a G3 geomagnetic storm. So back to the sun's solar cycles. So every 11 years, it's what's called the solar maximum. So sun just kind of gets really, really strong and works up a bit, has a bunch of explosions. And in its 11th year, around that time, it's has the most explosions. And what these explosions are called is a coronal mass ejection. And those are basically solar flares. You know, you've heard of those. Mm-hmm. And when it explodes, it sends out a gravitational wave to Earth because, you know, everything about the universe is just super powerful, unimaginably. And so we get these gravity waves that hits the Earth or solar flares. So basically, our magnetic poles are like force fields, like from solar flares and stuff. And that is what causes the northern lights, is the sun's interaction with the Earth and magnetic waves. And the easy explanation is magic.
I was going to say, so it's not just magic?
No. The locals to Alaska say that the northern lights is the whispers of their ancestors. And there's a famous astronaut, I can't think of his name right now, but way back when we watched a video with him in it, and he was just talking about what it's like to be an astronaut.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a mustache. It's very recognizable, but can't think of his name right now. But he was talking about being in the International Space Station as they flew over the Northern Lights in it, and he said it was like surfing on curtains of light. And I remember when we first watched that, Heather teared up because it was pretty like...
The way he described it
was beautiful, poetic.
Yeah.
So we were there to see them ourselves. And the place we stayed at was northeast of Fairbanks. So we flew into Fairbanks, got a rental car, and it's like 30 minutes away-ish, like north.
Yeah. The address is still technically in Fairbanks, but it's like outside of the city.
So you get away from the light pollution.
Yeah.
And it's looking away from the city as well. So more likely to get clear.
That was Smoosh.
Clear skies, yes. There's Smoosh meowing.
Yeah, we stayed at the Aurora Villa.
Yes.
I guess it's just Aurora Villa.
Aurora Villa, yeah.
But it's like a really cool, like modern looking hotel, and it's just like floor to ceiling windows. So you get a pretty good view of the Northern Lights, even from the safety and warmth of your room, which is how I experienced them the first night.
Not how I experienced them. But, so yeah, and the windows are all facing like north, like the biggest windows. And so, yeah, the first night, it was the first night.
The very first night we were there, it was like super late, so we just stayed at like a Best Western or something in Fairbanks.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the Northern Lights, like we were looking up in the sky and we were like, is that? And we could just like barely see.
We don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know if that was it, but yeah. And then during the day, we just like scooted around Fairbanks, seeing what there was.
Didn't really do much. Yeah.
We didn't do a lot. Just
walked around.
Yeah, walked around a little bit.
Yes.
Because, I mean, like, we were there to see the Northern Lights. So, unlike most of the other trips I plan, I did not plan much else because didn't want to plan too much because we were going to have to stay up all night. And, yeah, I didn't have too many objectives.
And I get a little tired when I'm there for multiple things, you know, like we knew we had an objective and that was
and we weren't there for very long. Like it was like 4 nights. I don't think we only had 3 nights,
Yeah.
really. Yeah.
So, first night, kind of got there really late.
Yeah.
Couldn't really do much anyways. We were very
It
tired.
takes a while to fly from Texas to Alaska, so.
Tired. So we just went to sleep.
Yeah.
And it was in Fairbanks. You can still see them from within Fairbanks. They're just not as, strong. So Aurora Villa, second night, which is our anniversary, 4-year anniversary, yeah. And this is the G3 geomagnetic storm. And so there was some other people who have photographed them before, and they were offering advice, and everybody's just like, oh, did you see them? When do they start? What happens? Like just asking questions until they start, because that's all you can think about. And then you'd be like, is that them? No. Like, you're just looking up at the sky because you have no idea what they look like.
Yep.
You only know what they look like in photos.
Right.
Most of the time. And some, like you don't know in person. And then I remember it was like a haze. It was like almost exactly at 10 p.m., which is where when the other photographer advised when they started the night before. It was perfectly clear night too. And yeah, green haze just started like rolling in, and it was very smooth and gentle. Curtain of light, like the astronaut said.
Yeah.
But slowly fading in, and you're kind of like, is that a cloud? But it's moving like too fast for a cloud, because it's very high up in the sky, but also it's moving very quickly, which is very interesting. But like, so what did you think whenever you first saw them from our room?
Well, yeah, it was kind of like, wait, is that like your mind is almost playing tricks on you, because you're looking for them, but you're looking for them in the way that you see them in like photos. And so, yeah, just like a ripple of like haze and light and moving very quickly. I think that's like how you notice it, is because you see the movement more than anything. Like, I didn't necessarily with my eyeballs see like the super, like the colors are there, but they're not as vibrant as they are in like photos and videos. So you're kind of like, whoa, like what did I just see? Which is almost even makes it even cooler, because it's just, I don't know, it's like your mind's playing tricks on you.
And from behind our room, in our room, the windows did sort of obscure them a little bit.
Yeah.
Too. So the best way to view the Northern Lights is, of course, from nothing obscuring,
right,
your view. But,
yeah, I definitely saw them way more clearly outside, but I couldn't. I just could not hang out there very long. Like, I just kind of let you do your thing, and I would go out there in short bursts and then come back inside, because it was so cold. Like, I thought that you had gotten frostbite when you were like setting up before it even got dark. You were like down there kind of figuring out like what angles, where you were going to set up, and you came back upstairs, and you were like your hands were like in pain, and like you weren't like screaming, but I could tell that you were like upset, like you were in pain because your hands were so cold.
Yeah, I think this happened while it was going on. But
okay.
Yeah, because I remember readjusting the camera, and there was a point where the wind kicked up a lot, and so the wind chill factor made it like negative 30 degrees. And yeah, I remember I took my glove. I had these regular like snow gloves on, but then these like Arctic research gloves that we got at the Fairbanks.
Yeah,
REI.
we went to REI because we were like, oh, we need
was,
better gloves.
Yeah, because the gloves I had just weren't going to do it.
And like face, like stuff to protect your face and stuff too.
Yes, because I wasn't going to go inside for too long. It's just not going to happen. So I needed to prepare for the weather.
Yeah.
And I did, but your hands aren't prepared for the weather, because when you take your gloves off, they're no longer effective. So yeah,
right.
It's very difficult to adjust settings with the gloves on
Yeah.
on the camera. So yeah, I was trying to with the giant 2 pairs of gloves on, took it off, and it was less than a minute because it doesn't take that long to adjust things, but I did it quickly. And then I'm like, well, that takes care of that. But the wind was just blowing directly onto my hand. But then I was like, oh, that was easy. And then I tried like bending it and I couldn't feel it. Like it's literally just like not there. And then, yeah, I was like, oh no. Like feelings started coming back sort of as I moved
and it like hurt.
It was just it was probably the most excruciating pain I've ever felt when the feeling comes back, because they have a heater as you enter and exit the Aurora Villa. And I didn't think that was enough because it's still, whenever somebody opened the door, it was like, I still got to go. So I took all my shoes off, or, everything off that you have to take off.
Oh, yeah, because you had to leave your shoes in that area.
Yes, every time. Every time I went in and out, you had to take off your shoes and leave them in the little heater room. But I ran up to the room, and I was like, Heather, and I really did want to scream, but I just like stuck it under your like back because you were just comfy.
I know, warm. I was all warm, like I could literally see them from like bed.
Yeah, so she was just hanging out, but then I was like, it's a war zone out there. And
then after that, I was like, I'm not gonna spend too much time down there.
Yes,
it was scary. Like, I mean, I could see them from, like, it was enough for you to be having that experience and for me to also be having an experience and being warm, which I'm not normally like a baby about stuff like that, but it was so cold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the coldest ever. It was if you look on Google Maps, the Arctic Circle is not too far away from where we were, because north of Fairbanks, it's pretty far up there. Anyways, yeah, that's something that we had talked about recently, was how we experiences
differently,
together. Because it took us a minute to like while we were there, after, like we talked about it on this trip, we had said, you were like, I just feel like we were like
separated. Yeah. And it was like for our anniversary, but like we were separated most of the time. Well, not most of the time, but like while this cool phenomenon was happening. And it was like, because I'm a baby and I couldn't handle the cold.
Right. And I was just like in pain the whole time.
Yeah.
So experiencing it differently, like I was in pain clearly, but it was for a specific reason. Right. It wasn't me just saying, I don't know, that's something. Like,
I'm not capturing photos and videos. So like,
why
would I put myself through that? Yeah.
And and we have now like photos hanging up in our room of the Northern Lights, but
it was worth the sacrifice, your sacrifice.
Well, I also had to baby the camera the whole time because I couldn't, I had to constantly adjust angles because you can't really see the photo you're taking until you take it and review it. So you have to do like test shots, and then the angle's not right, so you readjust. And if you move it, since it's a long exposure, it'll look all blurry.
Yeah.
So you had to like take a photo, sit there for 10 or 15 seconds, and you're just like watching all these lights go
and they're
around
everywhere.
you.
Like they're all across the sky. Like it's not like in one spot like the moon.
Well, that was specific to our visit, sometimes they could just be a little glimmer and go away all night. Like
they were everywhere.
This was a G3 geomagnetic storm, remember?
Yeah.
Like the sun was hitting the earth with a partial like solar flare type of thing.
Yeah. It was incredible.
Yes. So it was, and we do experience things in different ways, but it comes together somehow, Like you are there to enjoy the moment, right? Because your work was done beforehand, planning.
Yeah, that's true. And
then while we're there, it's like my work kicks in.
Yeah.
And I have to capture it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you better take home some cool things because we're not going to get all the opportunities to do it again.
Yeah.
But, and I was learning how to take the photos of the Northern Lights. And there was a guy who, I remember there's like a scramble when it starts because everybody's like, oh, there it is. And they're like, are you sure? And then some experts like already outside, like taking the photos. Like, okay, so they're taking a photo. so we better get out there. But you don't want to just stay outside the whole time because it's cold.
It's not fun.
But yeah, there was a guy with his tripod and camera, and he was like having difficulty, like, he was like panicking because, you know, like, you know, they could, I guess, go away for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
So luckily they lasted from like 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Right.
when we were there. I stayed up the whole time. But yeah, this one guy was struggling, and I was like, hey man, like, set up, take the photo. Like, he was kind of sitting there. He was like, I don't know how to work this camera. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, this is my first time using it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so it was like a crazy, and so I took the time to help him, and it was him and his fiance there. But yeah, they had wanted to take a photo with the Northern Lights in the background, but he took his first photo was his fiance and the Northern Lights behind her. But I told him like how to adjust settings, and it was a camera type that I'd used in the past, so I was familiar with it. But I told him what settings to use and like not to touch the camera and all these tips. And so his very first camera or photo with that camera was of the Northern Lights, which is pretty cool.
That is cool. Yeah. But also, it might be a good idea to practice, because you might not run into an Ethan. So if you're going to go take photos of the Northern Lights, you might want to do a couple of practice shots. Couple night practice shots.
Well, so I was wearing the Kavik, like this cool jacket I have with like a patch on the side. And so people did come to me for questions like before it had started.
You look like a park ranger.
Yeah, I don't know, bucket hat and everything, and gloves, and this cool jacket that I had like just bought that day or something.
Well, so you're like talking about the second night.
So this is still the first night, when a guy had walked up before it started, and he asked me, he's like, excuse me, sir, do you know when the Northern Lights start? And I was like, what? Like, they said around 10 p.m.
Like you're like in charge of the show.
Right. So, yeah, we're going through.
They're scheduled to start at 11.
We're going through rehearsals now. But yeah, that was a question that I was asked, because I was outside really getting footage of stuff. But he's like, do you know when they start? Like, and I was like, he didn't say typically or normally. It was just like, like it's on the brochure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's funny.
Yeah, that was the first night was magical. I got the best footage. It was a lot of purples and reds, like, and you could see purples with your own eyeballs. There's a very special friend I made that night. Her name is Vanessa Way. So it's Miss Loves to Travel on Instagram, but she's still taking crazy awesome photos. Just the Northern Lights was just like her weekend, and was like, yeah, I'm going to like Iceland after this. So it was like her and her family there, and it's like her family.
They all support her. Just
understood. They're like, yeah, she just gets like this, and then she just loses herself. But they all just like understood. It was really cool. But she is the one that actually was the only other one that stayed up the whole night taking photos with me. Yeah. And I probably would have went to sleep if she hadn't have just
been there. You had someone to talk to. Yeah.
And English wasn't her first language, so it was funny because we still we had a hard time. I'm from West Texas, just mumbling and also freezing, so I was just like, whoa, photo. Yeah. And so like us talking to each other, we were like we knew that we didn't know like exactly what we were saying to each other, but it was still like funny because we just both knew like camera terms. Yeah. And so we'd say those things, and that's how we like communicated. Yeah. Really,
and understood each other. That's funny.
Yes, it was very funny, but also your face literally freezes up, so you can't like talk very well
and have like a normal conversation.
No, not at all. So, yeah, that was very cool. But that was the first night, and 6 a.m. I slept for like an hour or so.
And then the next day I did make plans for the next day, where we went to Chena Hot Springs Resort.
Oh, goodness. That's right.
So we were still staying at the Aurora Villa, but we went there like for the day and night. And so we drove there, and it was the most sketchy, icy road I've ever experienced. It was about think like an hour and a half drive.
It was very long. We did go
Yeah.
slower than
Right.
safe, but it was literally just a solid block of ice the entire
Yeah.
way. In Alaska, they don't really have the utilities or the manpower to
Yeah.
maintain.
I don't think it was like a well-traveled road.
No.
Like it's not one of their highways.
And normally you shuttle to Chena Hot Springs.
Yeah, normal people.
But we drove
do.
the rental car, or the native Alaskans just speed past us, passing us like on the road. It's very funny
Yeah,
because
that's
we're
true.
going very slow, and then you look at this person's license plate, and it's just like Alaska, and it's like
Because they know how to drive.
like an old truck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
But we went there because they have hot springs,
mhm.
which that was super cool.
Yeah.
Because there are these natural hot springs in the ground, and it's just like snow all around you, mountains all around you. Like it is so cold, but then it's like a natural hot tub. That I thought that was like a really cool.
Yes, it was
experience.
it's very hot, not cool.
Well, yeah, I guess.
But yeah, that was is a giant swimming pool of hot water, and
Yeah.
literally when you stick your hair out of the water, like you dunk your head in. When you stick your hair out of the water, you
It
feel
would like
it.
crystallize.
It was frozen. Yeah, like it would freeze when you were stuck your head out.
Yeah.
And I was afraid it would break off.
I know. I thought about that too, but
no.
it didn't. So
It just feels like when you have like a lot of hair gel in or something, you couldn't really move it at all.
yeah,
And then you could crunch it.
yeah.
But that was interesting. I've never had that experience before.
That was my first hot spring.
Mhm.
And then we went to there's like a ice museum. So there's like a igloo type thing, and then they have a bunch of ice sculptures and stuff in there.
It's basically a church made out of solid ice blocks.
Yeah, it did look like a church. Yeah.
It was very cool. So we walked through, and you can see this guy's workshop, and it's just like this guy that works there. He's been working there for a long time, but yeah, you can see how he cuts the ice and makes all these different shapes and sculptures out of them. And
there's like 4 rooms, so you can like stay there.
Like
that
little
floats.
hideaways.
Yeah, you can like rent out those rooms, but they're literally just like blocks of ice. Like the bed is a block of ice.
Well, so like as you enter, there's like a lobby area, I guess, to keep the cool air in. It's like just a
waiting area.
Yeah. And so everybody has to get in, and they have to close that door that leads outside. And there's a second door that opens to the workshop, like I mentioned. And then you walk a ways past that, and then it opens up to this big room, very high ceilings. There's literally like a castle, like a stone tower, like a castle would have, except it's made of ice. And everything we describe is made of ice, literally.
Yeah.
And there's like a woman like sculpture. There was a dragon, I'm pretty sure, somewhere in there. And there's also a stage.
Yeah,
where
like
people,
a bar.
Well, that's to the right. Yeah, I was talking about where you can get married there.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So, but yeah, it's just a big wide room, and it's like seems like exhibits. But yeah, to the right was this giant bar, with stools. So the only thing that like really wasn't ice was like the stools. They had covers on them, like animal fur. Still fit with the vibe, It wasn't like velvet.
It's just because you can't sit on a block of ice.
Yeah, you would just make these butt cheek marks.
Yeah.
After a while. But a part of that whole thing was getting glacieritas.
No, that was.
Sorry. What is it? Appletinis. That's wrong. That was the previous time we went to Alaska. Appletinis, which have, the glass itself is made out of ice.
Yeah.
That you drink from. So as you drink, it like melts a little.
And the way they made them, it looked like the Northern Lights, because it was like purple green. Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, there are like rooms you can stay there, but it's so cold. I don't know how they would.
Yeah.
How you would do that, but some people do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a thing to do if you want to do that.
You wouldn't have to drive on that icy road coming in.
But yeah, there wasn't a bathroom in there, so.
Oh goodness.
You'd have to leave for that.
Yeah, at night.
Yeah.
And after we had left the ice museum, they let you break the
Mm-hmm.
The
glasses.
The ice, yeah. Ice cup. I don't know what to call it. Appletini cup made of ice.
Glass.
Yeah. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got massages, but that was just a fun, like,
Yeah.
couples thing. Which I didn't ask for. I'm okay with it, though. Like,
You're welcome.
Yeah. I don't really get massages ever. Hardly. It's only with you. I guess that's normal.
Anyways.
So, yeah, we drive back from
No, we went up
What else
the
did we do?
mountain there.
Oh, gosh.
Like, we stayed there.
I forgot we stayed.
Well, we didn't stay there, but
like, yes.
we stayed there really late, like 3 a.m.
That's right. I was like, we didn't stay the
And
night
we rode
there.
like a tank up the mountain.
Had tank treads on it. It was like just like a snowmobile type thing, but it was it's like a rectangle of metal and an engine, and it had just tank treads on it.
But you go up and it's just like,
Yes.
like, and you're also like going straight up. So you're all like falling into each other.
Mhm.
Like everyone there was like 10 people in each car thing.
So this excursion was something we had signed up for to go up on the
mountain to see the northern lights. Yeah.
Yeah. So you wouldn't have to walk, obviously, and yeah, the only way up was with this tank, but it was the most uncomfortable ride in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, straight up. There's no seatbelt, so everybody just kind of slides to the back.
And we were in the back, of course.
Rushing, yeah. And so there's these people you've never met before, like 2 inches
very
away
intimate.
from your face, and you're just like trying not to get smashed against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
It was great because once we get up to the top, 3 a.m. was the...
No, it started at 10.
10, yeah.
But it was like until 3 a.m.
Yeah. It was an all-night thing. It was crazy. So, yeah, right away, 10 p.m., that's when it started
and then
last time.
we all are supposed to go into, there's like a yurt at the top of the thing that's heated.
Warmth.
And it has like hot cocoa, stuff like that, some chairs. And so we go in there for like orientation, basically. Like they're telling you like what you can, what you can't do, how best to get the northern lights. And I turn around and Ethan's gone. Like he never came into the yurt with us because he's already off on the mountain, like trying to get them.
Yeah,
they're like, be careful because there's like certain trails. They're not really like super well marked, but basically like you could walk too far off of like the more traveled areas and just like fall through the snow because it's really, really deep. And then I turn and then I'm like, Ethan's not in here. He's probably in the snow right now.
Yeah, okay, so right when the doors open, I just sprint out, and Heather's standing by this tree, so I'm like, okay, I'm putting all my stuff here, I'm taking one camera with me, I'm going to go run out that way, because I can see, like, like things start to happen already, but but I missed this entire orientation, warning me not to run off by yourself, not to run off the road, and to also listen to these very important rules, please, because you don't want to miss out on them. But I wasn't there for anything. I didn't even know there was an orientation going on. So yeah,
they didn't really say that. I'll give you credit on that one.
They didn't say hang around once you get off. So I knew where the yurt was, and I knew where the northern lights were. So I was good. Like I don't know what else I needed to wait for.
Right.
But yeah, I do get off the road a little, and then I just sink into the snow like waist deep.
Yeah.
So you can tell where the you can't really tell where the road ends and begins, but it's just like a more well-traveled. It is also super dark.
Yeah.
But yeah, I fell into the snow and I was like, oh, it's not like I look around and there's literally no one around me. I was like, it's not safe here.
No.
I don't know. I disturb some wolves.
Yeah.
They just bite my head off. I'm just a head sticking out of the ground. But I was still setting up and yeah. Then I run back for more gear. And Heather was informing me about all the rules I just broke. I was like, oh, I didn't hear any of that. Yeah, we made some friends while we were there. Like, you just kind of hang out in this yurt and keep warm and then run outside and come back.
And, yeah, you, like, run outside, see him for a little bit.
Same concept as
Go
before.
Inside because it's freezing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this night was much more cloudy than the previous nights, and you could still see them. Like I still got footage and stuff, but it was just different
Than the first night.
than the first night. You know, it wasn't. It was just a little more cloudy, and it's crazy how one night can make such a huge difference. And you know, on this mountain, you're supposed to be able to see them better, but on a normal night, you would. But
that's the thing with the Northern Lights, like
yeah,
like conditions, weather conditions matter.
And what's weird is that they are still light. So in the long exposure, the photos, you can see them like reflect, basically get kind of enhanced a little bit by the clouds too, and it would light up the clouds and it would light up the ground at the same time. So it was just like sometimes, and I got some cool time lapses of that happening.
Yeah.
But this one was mostly like, if I remember correct, like ribbons going across the sky.
Yeah.
And it was just
almost looked like lightning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was, and this was still, I had some friendly friends, but this wasn't like an all night thing. Like, you know, I still talked to
Only
people.
till 3 a.m.
But this one had a lot more space than the previous one did. Like you could go,
wander off.
like a panorama of the mountain, so you could go kind of away for a ways, and that was really cool. But yeah, that night I remember the park people, like the people that were there on the excursion, like the workers, they were communicating with people around, and they said that night you could see the Northern Lights as far south as Colorado.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Just the other day, they had that one storm or whatever, and you could see them in New Mexico, like red ones, Northern Lights. So, like I said, solar maximum, they're getting more and more powerful. So, that night was cool as well. And then we rode the tanks back down.
Oh, and then we had to drive 2 hours back to our hotel. And we almost crashed.
Well, yeah, so that road, like I said, solid block of ice, no friction whatsoever. So you had to go very slow, but also go, like, it didn't matter how fast you went.
It didn't. You just happened to like hit a spot, and then it was like we were just like going towards
the guardrail,
and there was like nothing that we could do about it. And then all of a sudden, it was just like, and went back.
And I kept driving.
And then we just kept going, and I don't think we talked the rest of the way.
It was like we were like,
oh my gosh,
horizontal, like, you know, we faced, and then we just, it just feels like,
and then we were just back.
It feels like we were going straight towards it and gonna hit it, and then all of a sudden I blinked and it was just facing straight again.
And it was like one of those moments too where we're just like we both knew what was happening, but like there's nothing you can do. Like you can't really even like panic. There's no point in panicking. And so it's just like, okay. Yeah. And then when we got back to the Aurora Villa, I remember I was like, whoa, like they're still happening. And then like we were looking in the sky and you could see like the light changing and stuff. It was the sunrise. It was not the Northern Lights.
Yeah.
But I remember being like, whoa.
That one's a giant ball.
Well, it wasn't. Shut up. It was like
this one's a big yellow ball. It's lighting up the whole sky. It's coming from the...
It was cloudy. It was just that you could see like the light. It wasn't... Whatever.
Coming from the east.
I don't have to explain myself to you.
It's the eastern light.
Anyways.
Yeah. So, what did we do next?
What do you mean, what did we do next?
So
we just went to Denali.
The day we wandered around, our first full day there in Fairbanks, we wandered around and went to the visitor center.
Which is not something we normally do.
We never do that. But that's how focused on the Northern Lights we were.
Yeah, we were like, what else is there to do here?
But we get to the visitor center, and the lady that works there, she was like, have y'all ever been to Denali? And how far was it? It
was 2 hours.
2 hours, right. So we planned that to be our last day, to just drive up to Denali.
Because we had all day to get our plane was at like 11. p.m., I think. Like, I even paid an extra night at the Aurora Villa. Oh, I think I had to because you had, like, a minimum or something. But, like, we still had our reservation, like, that night. And then we just, like, came back and slept until we had to, like, leave to go to the airport.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah. But it was a snow-covered Denali this time.
Yeah.
And all the little shops and visitor centers and everything going into Denali, they were all closed.
Yeah.
They're out
As
of
soon as I
season.
realized that we could, like, go, like, it was, like, within driving distance and, like, feasible, like, I was just so excited.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we have a fantastic snowy drive going to Denali. The road there is
Much
perfectly
better,
fine.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, getting in the Denali, you could only go a certain
15 miles,
15 miles into the park, which is plenty.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ranger Burns is who
and he
explained that to us.
He recommended renting snowshoes.
And I was like,
And we were like, no.
No thanks.
Well,
Snowshoes.
we knew that we couldn't, like, do a whole ton of exploring and hiking. Like, basically we were there to, like, see, just, like, hang out a bit, walk around. But there wasn't a whole lot we could do because we didn't have enough time. But we probably should have rented the snowshoes.
Yeah, I said no to snowshoes because what the heck are you going to use those for? Walking in the snow, the deep snow that I was falling through the night before.
Like, yeah.
Like,
I fell through up to my, like, mid thigh.
He said it was the most snow that Denali has ever gotten in recorded history.
Yeah.
8 feet
just
or something.
Casually. I don't remember how much it was, but yeah.
It was 8 feet, I think. That's taller than me. The amount of snow.
Oh, there was like places where it had been pushed back, like from, like, the parking lot and stuff, and it was.
Well, that's because they pushed more snow on top of itself, but.
Well.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
Well, we did get to the part where it was super deep, and so there's little plants, like, sticking out of the ground.
Yeah.
At certain parts.
So you can kind of, like, there's no trail. Like, you're on the trail.
Yeah.
But there's no trail anymore because it's snow.
What trail was it? It was just Mountain Vista Trail, I think it was called.
I guess so. Yeah, but there's probably, like, a little.
We couldn't see anything.
No,
you just knew you were walking towards this river.
Right.
And then back. And it was pretty, was it the Alpine type area? Where you get more clear views and less trees. 15 miles in, but that's the Mountain Vista Trail in Denali. So yeah, there was, like, not very many cars in the parking lot either.
No.
But we walked out. Well, yeah, the little plants I was talking about. Those are, like, the tops of, like, trees, like,
that are growing.
That are a few feet high, though. That's the tops of them. Because as we were walking, you could see, like, little spots, like, deeper points, and you, like, fell, like, into the snow.
I guess I didn't realize that.
You were, like, walking.
I mean, I knew I fell into it,
but we're, like, walking on top of trees.
It felt different because I've been, like, walking on snow on a mountain and you, like, fall through, and that's, like, that's a really scary feeling. But I didn't feel, like, scared when I was, like, falling through the snow there. Like, it was just kind of, like, lighthearted, like, whoops.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel, like, scary.
No. It was, I mean, not that.
Even though it was, like, mid-thigh.
But you did take a step. That was, I'll never forget, you just go straight into the snow, like, all of a sudden. And, yeah, I was using the tripod as, like, a stick to test.
I should have just let you in front of me.
No, then I couldn't get footage of you falling into the
I guess
snow.
That's true.
But, yeah, one of the coolest spots that we've ever been to was that it's like a little creek that was just running through, and there's, like, bits of ice that were kind of over it, but it was still flowing. It was very peaceful. There's a little bench out there.
And then the mountains are, like, way off in the distance, but yeah, it was beautiful.
So how would you compare that to Kenai in terms of beauty?
Well, they're completely different because it's, like, covered in snow. I don't know. I think it was to me, it was obviously it was beautiful because it's just like pure white snow, and then just all this like untouched landscape. But you're just also like alone. Like it was so peaceful there. And just like watching the little like I don't know what type of birds they were, but they were just these little like white birds like hopping around, and I don't know, it just felt peaceful.
Yeah. How much better can you get than that? Because you like water. That's your thing.
Yeah,
Flowing water.
I just need to be next to some flowing water, and I can sit there for hours.
Yeah. So just being in that moment was really neat.
Right, and it wasn't something I expected either, because like it was like we're here to see the Northern Lights, which is amazing seeing that in itself. Like holy cow! But then we also got to see Denali in the winter, and it's just like this winter wonderland. Like it was wild. Like when we saw it in the summer, like you can feel how wild it is. But in the winter, it was just like it had taken itself back over, you know?
Yeah, it was like sleeping in a way. Like not much wildlife, not much traffic. It was just calm.
Yeah.
Even more calm than, like, I don't know.
That's the calmest I've ever like felt. Yeah.
Yeah. You thought you felt calm before, but now this is advanced calm.
Advanced calm, yeah.
So yeah, and then I was just looking for moose or something like.
Yeah.
But none showed.
No.
And then there's some people from France that walked up in their snowshoes, and they just like were super far away.
Yeah,
like
we could see them coming
them.
forever.
Yeah, and then they made their way over, and we just talked and said hey, and then they left. But they didn't see any bears or moose either.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty special.
Yeah.
So it was basically 3 out of 3 for days, like cool activities.
And then we were driving back to Fairbanks, and we like stopped at this. There wasn't like a lot of places to eat along the way, like between. And so we like stopped at this restaurant in like this hotel, but it was like you could tell that it was like very, had like dive bar vibes, and like there was a bunch of like local people there. So it was just like fun to pretend to be Alaskans for the day.
Yes.
Because I think we were the only tourists there.
Yeah, that was really cool. Like their kitchen,
they all like knew each other.
As you walked in, their kitchen was just like in the bar. Like imagine a U-shaped bar, bartender behind it, but then like across from that is a grill where they're making your food at.
Yeah.
It's like right there.
Yeah. And it was good.
It was very good. So then
we drove back, and we took a nap in our hotel room.
A short nap.
Then it was time to get ready to get on the plane and go home.
That was our last visit to Alaska. What are we going to go back again for, do you think?
I am interested in like doing a smaller cruise, kind of like I talked about. I would want to see Kenai again. I would want to see Denali. Basically, I would be fine doing like what I've already done, because it's going to be different every time.
Yes.
I know that there's a couple of spots in Alaska that, like smaller towns that I've like heard about, like Homer and stuff, that are supposed to be really cool to visit, that I would want to see. And then also there's like other national parks there too. Like we've been to like 2 out of 5 or 6 that are there.
Katmai, where the salmon jump.
Mm-hmm.
The bears catch them. Katmai, whatever.
Yeah, and there's like 2 more. Maybe even 3, yeah.
Gate to the Arctic.
One of them is like you can only get to it by, like, it's very hard to get to.
A national
I think
park?
it's kind of similar to Juneau. Yeah, one of the national parks.
Gate to the Arctic?
I don't know which one.
Well, that's like the super north.
Oh, well, there's one that's just like very difficult to get to.
Probably that one.
Like, you have to have a like boat plane.
Oh, a boat plane?
Or a boat or a plane.
Boat plane.
/plane.
Hovercraft.
Yeah.
That's what I would have wanted driving on those roads.
Yeah, no kidding.
The bumper car.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I would rent a car again if we were visiting in the winter.
How'd we get around?
I don't know. Bus. That's the thing is, like, there wasn't as much stuff open and running.
Not much is available.
Yeah. So the best time to visit is in the summer, but if you want to see the Northern Lights, that's not true.
Unless you want to see the Northern Lights, because the best time to go is in the springtime.
Yeah.
Which is, so the sun is still on like a 12-ish hour cycle because it's in springtime between seasons. Summertime, daytime all the time. Winter, nighttime all the time.
Yeah.
Springtime, you still get nighttime, but also the skies are more likely to be clear. It's not going to be snowing all the time.
Okay.
Right? Like
I was going to ask why
like in the winter.
Wouldn't be better to go in winter. Yeah.
The conditions are more likely to line up for you.
Yeah.
They still happen, all parts of the year.
Yeah.
But that's when you get the best bang for your buck with the Northern Lights. And you have to go somewhere north, usually, to see them.
Before we move on into anything else, what did the Northern Lights like? I know we already talked about what they looked like, but how did they make you like feel?
Good question. So I think upon the initial approach, as I was getting ready and everybody was being like, it was just a buzz in the air. Like literally there was something going on in space right now. And it's like a cosmic event that, you can explain it. I can talk about solar cycles and coronal mass ejections, but like what actually makes a moment like that happen where a group of people can experience it together, and all these people, random walks of life, all come together, Vanessa way, and it was like us two, we both happened to be there, and it meant a lot more to me because we both kept each other awake, right? Like, who knows, if I was by myself, I wouldn't have had somebody advising me because she was experienced. And so anyway, as you sum all of this up, it just becomes an experience and not just an event that can be explained by science, right? Like it's the memory that matters for the rest of all of our lives, everyone that was there. And you and I both experience it in different ways, but then we can both come together and talk about our shared experience.
Yeah.
Because in the end, everybody experiences something different, like everything differently.
Right.
We all perceive everything differently. Depends on your past experience at that moment. And so how it felt, like everything I just said, there is not one single feeling that can describe an individual experience. But so if I had to say certain feelings, it would be probably like it was a weird, like, oneness with the earth.
Right.
Because you're like, I know you don't have to be doing this right now.
Yeah.
And the earth is like, yeah, you don't have to be here either. Like, we both don't care, like, pretend not to care about each other, where we're just, like, not communicating somehow.
Yeah.
Where the Northern Lights are like, oh no, if you take a photo of me, I'll be super beautiful. Like, that's your fault for doing it. And I'm like, oh, you're here now on a clear sky. I'm going to take a photo of you. Like, it's weird. And, there's a lot of, since I was so numb too, it's like the hairs on my neck didn't stand up because I couldn't feel them. It was just like, I couldn't smile. I could only just breathe. So it was me and my breath, and then this crazy light that was just shining and it illuminating the ground green and
Yeah.
purplish, and it felt wonderful.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Because, I mean, somebody I know, my dad, might call me a hippie, but whenever I talk about like this kind of stuff, like it's the, if we don't think, as John Muir says, when one pulls what when one pulls at a single thing in nature, they find that it's connected to the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so I could just trace back the Northern Lights and say, hey, so this is because of this, the sun. Oh, the sun also is what keeps us alive, or, brightens our day, gets all of our, like, the sun is required for so many things.
Yeah.
But then the earth is also like protecting us against it at the same time. Which is a very weird relationship, but we're all, it's like a connection, right? Like, we don't want the sun to explode and hit us with a solar flare. Then all of our electronics will go out. But it's like,
but also little solar flares are really beautiful.
Yes.
And create the northern lights. So
The last solar flare, like, the Earth was hit with a direct solar flare in like the 1800s, 1860s or something, before we had electricity. It's called the Carrington event. And so what it did was show northern lights so vivid and so beautiful, like it just illuminated the earth, but also you could see them as far south as Cuba.
Oh, wow.
So basically, how powerful, the more powerful they are, the more it like leaks over the earth.
Yeah.
And no other planet in our solar system has the atmosphere like this sort of reaction. I mean, other planets do have auroras. But it doesn't work quite the same as the Earth.
Yeah. So basically, we're lucky. Like, it's crazy that we're like here when we're here, able to experience anything really. Yeah, like it's pretty cool.
Well, tracing it all back, like, it's impossible that we're even here right now as people on Earth.
Right.
So, like, the odds of
none of it makes sense.
Odds of that are so low. And then it's like, so yeah, that's why oneness with the earth, right? You can drive yourself nuts thinking about how everything connects to everything, right? But like, just knowing that it's all connected somehow is much more comforting. Like, you don't.
Yeah, exactly.
You just like, I don't have to know why.
Why, yeah.
This is going on.
Who cares?
Like, it's just cool.
Yeah. I know that when I, like, touch a tree, like, you can literally feel, like, energy from it. Like, it's all...
hippie.
I know.
I was kidding. So, like, because of all the context that you're aware of that came before this tree.
Right.
Right? Like, everything that led up to this moment of this tree being here now.
Yeah.
So, literally everything
it makes the moment even more beautiful.
And then we as humans just like to tell stories about things, like that the whispers of our ancestors or the trees mean this. And that's literally why I think we're, if there was a reason, many reasons why we're here around, whatever. But it's humans, what we want to do is just form a story and a narrative around everything. Like, it doesn't matter if it's the whispers of your ancestors or a geomagnetic storm. It's
beautiful either way.
It creates the same feeling. It just is the Northern Lights in the end. And that's why it's easy just to say it instead of explaining it.
True.
Yeah.
Very true.
And so then, tracing it back to the moment, why describe a moment or in the moment, right? You're not trying to say this is why. It's like literally just happening. And that's all you need to know.
Okay, I won't ask any more questions.
Just kidding. You can. I'm just saying. When you're experiencing the Northern Lights, just enjoy them.
Exactly.
And try not to freeze.
Yeah.
Because I can do that.
I will, if I were to go back to Alaska to see the Northern Lights again, there was this cool place, but I like book things not super far in advance. And so we were able to get like a really cool place with floor to ceiling windows, but there is this place with like there with like dome it's like a glass dome, so like you can literally just like be laying in bed,
Mm-hmm.
and then like you can just see them above you.
Yes.
So I think I would do that. But if we do wind up, the plan is to go to Iceland, hopefully, 2025.
Yes.
So there's probably something like that in Iceland.
There
I'll try to
definitely is.
plan that one more in advance.
Yeah. Iceland is another spot to see the Northern Lights. And 2025 would be the solar maximum, as I've been saying this entire time. So that would probably be cool. Just being in one spot, waiting it out 3 or 4 nights,
Yeah.
you know, and just having each night to have its own whatever. Hopefully good conditions, but you never know.
By then we'll have a lot more vacation days racked up, so maybe we can stay for more than 3 nights.
Maybe. We'll see. Anyways, anything else? Any other experience? How did you feel about the Northern Lights? You want to get into that, or?
No, that's okay. I think you did it justice.
I did talk a lot.
That's all right.
Well, cool beans. What a gentle little, like a. May a curtain of light be just laid upon you tonight as you go to sleep, or whatever time it is you're listening to this.
Yeah.
Just be as gentle as light.
You're so cute.
Okay, well, we'll see you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening.